Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rusty Cage. In this episode, a recap of UFC 259 and a preview of UFC 260.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of Rusty Cage. So I gotta say more, Rusty Cage. That's how I've been liking to say it. This episode is sponsored to you by First Strike Athletics. You guys need to go check out this YouTube channel. If you're into Muay Thai, there's some amazing tips on there. And also the owner, Dan Sloboda, and he is doing a 4x4x48 Gogan's Challenge right now, where he runs 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. He's an absolute savage. He's raising money for this great gym in Thailand. So go check it out. There'll be links and all that stuff where you can donate on his YouTube page, and I'll get up on my page as soon as I get them. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the recap show, and we're also going to look forward to UFC 260. I am joined by Mr. Jordan Rusty Can't Win a Parlay Ducharme.
Oh, hey, great. I'm so happy you had me on here, Ty. I'm so happy you made it a show for me to come in and host, and I can't wait to just host the shit out of it here.
Yeah, dude, this is gonna be a fun time. Maybe can we talk about real quick just how close you were to hitting?
Oh, we'll just start on that right away. Hey,
I just kind of yeah.
I did. If I'm doing a quick introduction here, I should say
Yeah.
Canadian comedian, moved to Manchester in 2018. I love UFC, love watching it. Don't know how to fight, never been in a fight. My opinion is not worth the paper it's printed on, but I can maybe deliver it in an entertaining fashion that'll be worthwhile. So listen for that. And honestly, yeah, when I tell the story of this parlay, I was an almost genius last night.
You really were.
Dude,
Just
so I
phenomenal.
think I told you yesterday, I forget when I set this thing, but I had like a premonition, because I don't know about you. I've been thinking about 259 nonstop for the past, since the card's been announced.
Yeah, it was just so stacked. It was, yeah, of course.
Like even the prelims are like I was telling my friend, I'm like, dude, these prelims would be a fight night any other day, like any other week.
For sure. I mean, Dominic Cruz is on the prelims.
Yeah, headlining the prelims, and so that's where that's where my parlay started last night. I had set a parlay for the whole card, and to be fair, I never bet more than 10 pounds. I sort of just do it to make the fights.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just super fun for sure.
Mhm.
Even street cred bets are a good time.
Yeah, but I had this parlay with Cruz, Ratchets, Makachev, Aljo, Nunez, and Izzy. So a six-way parlay. I bet 5 pounds. If it had hit, I would have walked away with 90 pounds. And if you watch the fights, I mean, we can go through them. Maybe I should set the precedent of what my parlay was, and then we'll break it down.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know what I was feeling as the fights were going on.
Sounds good.
It built to some disappointment, dude.
There was probably the biggest crescendo for you.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we'll get into all the fights. I want to start with some quick news. Junior Dos Santos and Uberim have been cut from the UFC. I feel like if this was the Zuffa era, these guys would still be in the UFC.
I don't get it, man. Like, because we know how often they do fight nights. It's one pretty much every single week. There's more on weeks than off. Sometimes there's a Wednesday card. And I don't care if they're just like empty husks of themselves, like CTE riddled, like just ruined. If you put Alexander Overeem or Junior Dos Santos at the top of a card, people are tuning in. People are getting excited.
100%. But maybe it's of this old guard, because it's like, I mean, how long have we watched those guys for? Especially like Uberim, like, oh my God, it's since like K1 days. It's that guy's been fighting forever.
And Dana will make that argument that it's for the betterment of these guys' health. What it really is these guys have a huge price tag, and it isn't cheap to get JDS to fight. And if he is washed up, but I'm like, man, gatekeepers, no one likes being a gatekeeper, but they are important. And
for sure,
in a heavyweight division like this, there are a lot of people on the rise. Like, I would love to see a Tom Aspinall take on a JDS or an Uberim.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, it's as selfish as it sounds, I would be content watching those guys fight pretty much until they die.
Dude, if you told me JDS was fighting over him next month, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude.
Right.
That's good for any card.
Yeah, couldn't they have just made that?
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened.
Yeah, like 5 times.
I've always thought loser leave town matches should be a thing UFC takes from pro wrestling. And the loser's like legitimately like fired on the spot in the octagon.
Loser leaves town.
Yeah, dude, they gotta leave town. You are no longer in the UFC as an employee.
You gotta go to WCW.
Yeah, or Bellator in this case.
Well, yeah, that's where I was going with that.
So yeah, no, that was a bummer. I mean, that's my recap of that news.
Yeah,
that
super
sucks.
big bummer. There hasn't been a whole other ton. I mean, it's really been this lead up for 259. Texas still they're open, but they're not open. So none of that's.
I heard Dana's trying to get in there already.
Oh yeah,
I heard.
He's got his nuts all up in Texas.
Yeah, dude.
He's ready.
He's like,
to go.
I don't even have to work with Native Americans. I can just run a show.
He said he'd move UFC 260 to do it. Now it's cool that they do have the Apex. Like, how do you? I don't mind watching the fights there. The smaller cage is kind of a thing, I guess, but not. I don't know. I don't really see too much. We were talking last night. It's crazy how that's a thing. How that's like how the cage changes sizes depending on where it is. Like no other sport is like, oh.
Yeah, and it's strange. I wish I did have any sort of fight experience because I'm curious if that's like a big deal at all to them, or if some people are like, oh, I didn't even notice, or if some people are like, oh, this changes everything.
I'm sure
like
it's one of those
my
things.
camp is
I'm
fucked.
sure it must be one of those things where like at that level it probably does. Because like every little fucking thing makes a difference at that level. I couldn't imagine. Like,
Right,
someone
yeah,
like you and me, we're just gonna get the shit kicked out no matter how small that sounds. But it could be a football field.
Uh-huh. If we are covering news real quick, I did hear. Did you hear Paulo Costa speaking on why he lost that fight against Izzy? DC even brought. Yeah, DC brought it up on the card multiple times and was like roasting him low key.
So he couldn't sleep, so he decided just to pound a bottle of Merlot.
Yeah, and then was like, I was still drunk the next day, and I was like, what? Like, what kind of wine was this, dude? Like
mulled wine.
Yeah.
So you might need to get a hold of this Brazilian wine.
Dude, I've always been of the opinion where it's like, even if you did like whatever excuse, like the perfect excuse happened, you're almost better off not saying it. Because most people are going to not believe you or give a shit anyways. And at the end of the day, like, we have the visual of you getting fucking destroyed. And that visual is not going anywhere.
No, and for at least a month. It'll be gifted and fucking meme like crazy. It's just, yeah, it's wild to, like, when has anybody ever been like, oh, this is what happened? And we're all like, oh. It could be like, it could be something as serious like, oh, my ACL was torn. And we still don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Like, that's what a loser would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job, Costa. Yeah, what a weird. I feel like that's such a weird Brazilian move. Be like, yeah, drink a bottle of wine.
No, yeah. No, I don't know, man. Like, to me, that's not even just a good excuse. It's like, so you can't hold your liquor and you suck at fighting. Like
that's up there with Deontay Wilder in boxing being like, oh, the costume I came out in was too heavy and I was tired.
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't think Costa sucks. I think he just had a bad night. But it's like, dude, just the quicker you shut the fuck up about it, the quicker we're not talking about it.
For real, yeah. You got DC just bringing up on the show all last night. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was shitting on him, and then Rogan, like at one point, he's like, "I should apologize to Costa," and Rogan's telling him like, "I don't think that's necessary," and DC's like, "No, I've been trashing him a lot." So that was awesome.
That's great. What other? I really got no other news other than that Paige Van Zandt is just posting very provocative photos all over the internet.
Good so that's been like that's her and her husband's thing, isn't it? Like.
I know, but then she goes and like the whole bare knuckle boxing thing. I was like, no, don't do that. You can just do those bang videos on TikTok and you'll be fine.
I mean, it is like, it is strange to think anyone would want to go. Like I feel like bare knuckle is almost strictly like in that dark side of MMA. Like that's where JDS and Overeem are heading because they have no other options. Type of darkness.
JDS will definitely. You don't think Bellator will pick him up?
Maybe. But my point that I'm making is that that's the like last stop on the road. And so when people end up there that don't have to be there, I'm almost like, well, what's going on here? And from what I heard, Paige got paid bucket loads of money is to do that. So I guess that makes sense because honestly, I can't think of many people that are so much more of a name than they are a talent. And like that's not even shitting on her. She's just like moderately good.
Although I did see her live in person with that, she did that switch jump kick to.
Oh yeah.
That was here in Vancouver. I remember seeing that. That was freaking awesome. But that was it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of her husband, and I don't pay attention to the thirst traps online. I ignore it every time.
I got you covered. Don't worry.
Yeah. To me, those posts are the equivalent of like the two girls that made out at the bar for the guy's attention, and I'm always like, I'm just not going to look in that direction because that's a win for them.
Yeah, I also like that's such a good move too. To do that is like, oh, whoa, I've never seen that before.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is sick. The first time you see it, it is dope.
Yeah, dude,
but once you realize
party in grade 9, it was super dope.
Yeah, once you realize the trick, then you're like, well, I've seen this before. Anyway, we're way off topic there. Should we get into 259?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's the freshest MMA news there is, really.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, let's get into it. Let's.
Okay.
I'm just kind of doing. You just want to, like, I didn't see a ton of the prelims. I did see Dominic Cruz.
I'll give a quick recap of the prelims from what I remember. I should pick because they were pretty big. I'm just trying to remember the name of the first guy because the first fight of the night was fucking awesome. Let me see. I'm just pulling it up here. Yeah. So first of all, I tuned in for the beginning of the early prelims, and here's a weird news story. I caught Tim Elliott fighting Jordan Espinoza. Tim Elliott's a name I heard before. I didn't know Jordan's. Didn't know either of these guys really. And it was a pretty like dominating fight by Tim. He was just wrestle fucking him the entire time and controlling him on the ground. And like right at the end of the second round, Tim Elliott's digging his forearm into Espinoza's face. And he's literally says something along the lines of like, I know what you did, you fucking woman beater. And
wow.
That's the only sentence I heard for sure. Like clearly I heard it on television. And immediately you hear Rogan and DC like, whoa. Like, what the fuck did he just say? And I'm pretty sure I heard Espinoza say something like either like I apologized or like I said sorry or something. Like he tried to respond. What? He tried to respond to this accusation he was getting. Like dude was getting canceled as he was getting just wrestle fucked in the middle of the octagon. It was crazy.
That's phenomenal.
So that was just an early prelim thing. And Tim Elliott won, I think it was like 30-25. Like he really fucked them up all 3 rounds. So. But I just thought that was strange as hell. The first fight on the prelims was Kai Kara France, who I'd never heard of, versus Rogerio Bontorin. Again, 2 guys I'd never heard of. And it was only great because Kai Kara France got his ass handed to him the first 2 rounds. And then literally, like, it was sort of a Derek Lewis style. Like, he got to his feet and just unleashed on his feet and knocked the guy out.
Where you at, Rhonda? Let's go.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Like, it was just a come from behind victory for Kai Kara France. I think he's one to look out for now. That was his, like, 5th win in a row.
Oh, wow.
Next up, we got Joe Benavidez versus Askar Askarov.
Oh, I did see a little bit of this.
Dude, poor Joey B. Like, you got to feel for the guy.
I do. I feel for the guy, but, like, his wife is Megan O'Leary, right?
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
That's what everyone says. And, man, I'm pretty sure she was, if she wasn't on this card, like, I know she's worked cards where her husband's been knocked out before.
I know. And then I was like, what, you got to interview him afterwards?
Yeah. Well, like, she had to interview other people afterwards. And I'm like, dude, if I just lost, like, a fist fight and Lulu was able to continue working, afterwards and wasn't totally devastated. It's over. Like, I'd be so pissed to see her like not rock to her cord. It's like
Are you
doing her
seriously
job.
wearing that dress right now? Are you holding
Yeah.
that fucking microphone right now?
Yeah. How are you not crying?
This is crushing for me.
So Askar Askarov, he's another one of these Dagestani guys that just like he's got the Abe Lincoln beard. He looks super unassuming, and then he just shows up and fucks this guy's world up and won it pretty handily.
We were talking last night, like just per capita, what the amount of fighters that they are producing.
No, it's not. I'm like, my buddy was saying it last night to me, like, how bad must Dagestan suck that like all these wrestlers are just getting good at this skill and then it's like leaving as soon as they can.
Yeah, it's just wild.
But yeah, I don't know. No offense to the Dagestanis listening to this. I don't know if that's a big market we're gonna penetrate. But next up with Tyler Phillips for his song Yadong. I'd never heard of Tyler Phillips before, but you gotta love a guy named Song. That's who I was rooting for here.
Yeah.
And Tyler ended up just fucking him up over the long haul. It was pretty obvious by the end of the fight who'd won. And then, as the main event of the prelim, this is the first fight we can really start breaking down. Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny.
Dominic, I said last night, it is a miracle that his body can still work. Like, I don't know how many surgeries do you need to do.
I like Cruz a lot, though.
I do too. I think he looked a little slower, maybe, with like his with that kind of movement that he does. But it was still like, it's still there.
Well, and it comes down to like the dude. I feel like if Dominic's gonna have a title run, Casey should be just a goalpost for him to breeze by. Like he should have starched this guy. It shouldn't have been as competitive as it was, in my opinion. If we really are gonna see like another Cruz elite run,
it's so tough because I don't see it happening for him. To be honest,
no, I mean.
And he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. It's like he's got a great commentary. I like when he's on the commentary.
I do too. I know a lot. I mean, he's probably one of the more polarizing commentators UFC has, but I think Cruz is great. And I also just think though, it's like, yeah, he was this legend 10 years ago. In UFC time, that's like 100 years ago. And you're talking about the bantamweight division that's like maybe the most stacked division this company has right now. Like it's crazy the amount of people.
It's nuts. It's so good.
Like Garbrandt, like humbled him 4 years ago, and now I not only could I not see him beating Garbrandt, I couldn't see him beating like half these guys, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. He just looked way older and shit.
Mm-hmm. And he did have the awkward movement. To be honest, I don't think Casey Kenny's any world beater, but I don't know him that well. His biggest claim to fame was like, I only know about him because did you hear that controversy he had on Sean O'Malley's podcast?
No.
Oh, so he's on O'Malley's podcast and they're bringing up like chicks they'd fuck in the UFC. And someone brought up Megan Anderson and Casey Kenny's sort of like, oh, she's one of those like 4 a.m. girls that you'd like after last call's done, that's when you pick her up or whatever. And then that clip went sort of viral, and Megan Anderson like tweeted out like, "It's fucked up that I still live in a company where this could happen." And you're just like, "Oh no, Casey Kenny getting canceled."
I mean, we'll get into it, but she got canceled.
Yeah, dude,
real quick.
She got canceled from standing on her own 2 feet. But no, Cruz won this, and he won pretty. I'd like to see him take on a top 5 opponent and just see if he can like still have it essentially. And that brings us to our main card here. What a pay-per-view! I want to say, by the way, 5 fights, all of them are fucking huge. Like
they were massive fights. Sometimes cards like this, I know some people kind of felt afterwards because it was so long that it doesn't. It's always the worry when there's like 3 title fights on a card and it's freaking names and all this stuff that it's not gonna live up to everything. And I know that some people, from what I've seen online, are feeling that way just because of some of the results and whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I thought they were really good fights. And if it's people fighting in a cage, they did not get to
I'm
watch
watching.
it. I get to watch it on television. So like, I don't give a fuck.
Dude, I got up
watch.
at 4. I got up at 4 or 3 a.m. to watch Ratchets fight like Anthony Smith a couple months ago, and that was the main event of a fight night. Like,
you just want to see Anthony Smith's teeth get knocked out again, and then his trainer tell him just to get back in the corner.
do it, pussy.
Did you see that? It was the best.
Oh yeah. Oh, so when Teixeira just works him over, dude.
Oh, that was brutal.
But this first opener, we have Thiago Santos versus Ratchets, which is a better fight than the one I just announced, and it's only the opener on this thing. So
Right.
I was pretty fired up for this fight when it began. It turned out to be, I would call it disappointing.
Yeah, it was for how scary both of those dudes look.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, yeah, it got a little. It kind of started all right, and then just kind of drifted, and then I don't know. By midway through two, it was like, this is fucking.
Yeah, I wonder. I've got a couple theories on it. Like, part of me wonders if Thiago has like Ngannou syndrome. Like, maybe he's just sort of gun shy and doesn't want to. I mean, fire at will like he used to. So like,
Did he just get off of surgery too?
I think after the Jones fight, he had surgery, and then he got submitted by Teixeira right afterwards.
Yeah,
so,
like it's still not that much time. I don't know.
Yeah, I just mean like he used to be just a gunslinger. Like you'd expect crazy shit from him, and he seemed way more reserved in this fight.
For sure.
And then Ratchet just kept shutting him down whenever like he didn't allow him to build any offense either. So it did feel like a long stalemate at times.
For sure, yeah. I think it just kind of canceled each other out, and it was weird to kind of see Santos without that. That like kind of wildly, because usually, yeah, you're right. He's kind of like for the fences kind of thing and just throwing crazy ass shit.
Yeah, dude. The first round he had, I think it's with Jimmy Manoa, but the first round they have is one of the craziest rounds of fighting that ever happened. Like,
that's
so
true. It's wild.
But anyway, Ratchet picks up a win here. I think even though it was a very even fight, it was pretty obvious who won too. So I'm just glad there was no fuckery on the cards there.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's some fuckery later on about like not necessarily with the final results and stuff, but just like with some of the judges' picks are just like I don't know. I don't know. Vegas is weird.
Yeah, you never know with these judges. Yeah. The next fight up was Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober, and
just unbelievable how they're able, these wrestlers, to just tie your legs up like. You just can't. You just couldn't go anywhere. There's nothing. You try to like crawl up against the fence the whole time, and it's just like no, you're just gonna get smothered. And then I don't know how you pull off that choke from that side.
Yeah, well, dude, it's weird. First of all, Drew Dober is one of these fighters where it's like I can't remember ever hearing his name before. Can't remember ever seeing him, and then he just shows up here, and he's almost like the perfect fall guy for an Islam Makhachev.
For sure, that fucking haircut, everything.
Yeah, it's total douchebag. This guy looks like Brock Turner's best friend, dude. He looks like he would haze kids to death in a fraternity. Just a douchebag looking guy, and he's literally saying the same thing every one of these guys says when they face a Dagestani guy. It's like, yeah, he's got that Khabib hype behind him. I don't think he's going to be able to take me down. And then we proceed to see a fight where, like, for 3 rounds, Islam
just gets taken down. Just gets taken down once and then held there and just smashed.
Yeah, at will, dude. Dober didn't even have a moment where he looked good in this fight, I don't think.
No, not a single one. And Khabib was in Islam's corner for this too.
Yeah.
So you're extra fucked.
Yeah, just the presence. It is sort of like, it's like having a great general in the war. You're like, Christ, dude, that guy's with him.
I'm surprised he didn't go to like wrestling manager immediately.
Yeah,
it's like having Paul Bear in your corner.
Yeah, give him the hat and everything.
The urn.
But no, so this was, I mean, and by this point, my parlay was halfway through between Cruz, Ratchets, Makhachev. I'm like,
good.
To me, the hard part is over. Although I will say the next fight we're going to talk about, Yanver Sterling, was the one I was most unsure about. I really did not have a lot of confidence in Sterling getting the job done here.
Yeah, but I kind of thought he might have been able to. I thought the smaller cage might have played a factor.
Yeah, and I mean, Jan was very untested against grapplers so far. We'd never really seen him face someone. Definitely not on the level of Sterling, who like just fucking
No.
strangled Sandhagen recently.
Oh
And,
my
like,
god, that was insane.
yeah,
Pyotr Jan, his ability to just kind of stand directly in front of you, and he's got that like high Dutch guard, and he just takes some shit, but he doesn't seem to be getting hit. But then his power for how big he is insane.
yeah, it's nuts.
It
I
doesn't
think
make sense.
the first half of the first round was Sterling's best output. He looked, if he could have kept that pace the entire fight, he would have won this fight. Like the amount he was just putting on him constantly was
I agree.
nonstop. But it's like you said, even after all that in the first round, Yan manages to hit this one fucking hook, and it almost finishes the fight. Like he not a huge knockdown in the first round of Sterling.
Yeah, super wild. And then they're kind of they're in the middle, kind of on the octagon, and Sterling's got a knee down, and Jan just fucking straight up knees him.
Dude. Like you could have written a book about how he's about to knee him in the head and gotten it published in the time that it took Yan to fucking knee this guy in the head. Like
if a baseball pitcher threw with his knee, that's how big this like windup was. It was this giant Roger Clemens like reach back and fucking. Oh my god, dude!
It was brutal, dude.
It was
like he fucking kneed him out cold. Like this was it. The fight was over at this point. Massive concussion easily. And so in UFC, I mean, we'd almost seen it happen once before with Anthony Smith and John Jones, where Jones hits an illegal knee, but Smith, who it really didn't connect, like maybe even half as hard as this one did, but Smith was like, I'm not going to win that way, and continued the fight. You can tell the referee wanted Sterling to just shake this off and get back and fight at first. That's totally the vibe I got.
You think? Because they only talked it out for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Like, they were talking it out as Sterling was sat down, and then Sterling tries to get to his feet and, like, loses his footing because he's fucking concussed. And the ref still leans over him like, so you're sure? Like, there's no chance. Like, it was crazy, dude. I'm so glad.
You know what you're dealing with.
It wouldn't have shocked me at all if the UFC restarted this fight, and that would have been fucking crazy. I'm so glad they didn't.
Yeah, so it'll be an instant rematch, right? Like that's what he's just guaranteed himself here.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I think both guys would want. So you literally had to see the scene of Aljamain Sterling delusionally concussed, crying because he's sort of like the reality is sort of managing to creep in. And as he's having the title wrapped around his waist, it was crazy, dude.
So obviously, a lot of people came out online, and Justin and I were. I'm gonna say this a little bit because it was like it just went on for so like it should have just been called immediately. In my mind, It's like it's a legally. That's it. We're done.
I agree. That's what the rule of the sport is.
Yeah. So like, why the fuck are we like receding this guy? And I can't imagine what that feels like. And I'm sure he was absolutely concussed because he got smoked. But like, what I know me. I'm definitely taking that title that way. I don't give a fuck how I get it. I'm just going to take it. And there's already people coming like Dillashaw's being like, he was acting, he was faking it. Or he's
dude. Your body is acting, you fucking drug addict piece of shit. You're not even like, you said yourself you couldn't have won the 125-pound title without drugs, you fucking rat. I hate Dillashaw, dude.
I am glad. How do you feel about Ludwig?
Oh, I don't know enough about him, but probably not a fan.
I like that twin bang. But so I was glad that he took the belt off and kind of threw it on the ground because I'll be honest, when Dana first put the belt around him and he was kind of getting like, I didn't even know. Dude, like, oh, come on now, let's fucking.
And Dana White had all the energy of a guy giving like his house keys to his ex-wife. Like he did not want to. He didn't like anything that was going on here.
Yeah.
I thought it was fucked that they interviewed Sterling afterwards.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Oh, it was because it was illegal? It was fine to interview him after he got fucking knocked the fuck out?
Yeah, I was like, Joe, do you remember the last time you interviewed a crying man who was like just being knocked unconscious?
Yeah,
Like, it was a big regret.
Was that DC?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, remember him? He's sitting next to you this broadcast.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought this was all fucked. I think, dude, pro wrestling rules stand. Like, the title does not change hands on a disqualification. I don't care if it's a loss in the books, but like, you
But
do not want. You don't want the
just,
title to change hands this way. It was weird. It was fucked, and it's
no
not
one
how you want
wants
to win the
it.
title.
And like, I don't know a ton about Aljamain, but like from what I've seen with him on Rogan's shit and other interviews and stuff, he seems like a pretty legit guy who, like, yeah, I don't think he would want to win. I don't think anybody would want to win the title that way that are at that level. But
Yeah. Cool.
it's
Give the guy the
basically-
winners first. Like, make the immediate rematch. Give him the winners first, and then fucking move on.
But that's just it. It's like, is he? He's not necessarily guaranteed an immediate rematch. You know what I mean?
I think if you win by DQ, but you don't win the title, that should almost be a rule written into it. If you were gonna say,
I agree, but in Aljamain, so you're sitting there on the canvas being like, okay, if I do continue to get my and lose, am I gonna get a title fight after this? Really?
yeah. Well, and we should say, like, the way the fight was going, Aljamain probably won round 1, and round 2 was debatable, but round 3 he handedly lost. He was visibly slowing down. Yan had not left a step. He had all the power that he had in round 1.
100%. It did not look like it was going Aljamain's way.
Like, it's one of those situations where if this did not happen, Yan 100% would have won this fight. I can almost say.
Yeah, it's yeah, Shaman went down that way, but that's how it crumbles sometimes. They'll do a rematch. I mean, I don't know if he consciously was thinking that, like, oh, if I do it this way, then that kind of does guarantee me this rematch. I don't know if you could actually be thinking at that level after being kneed in the face without.
I think he was fucked up, man. I don't think he was even there anymore.
I mean, it was
for the most part
vicious knee. It was bad.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like the same way, you've seen people who are like, they'll seem conscious or like they're with it, and then the next day they'll tell you like, oh, I was blackout drunk. I don't even remember that conversation.
Yeah.
That happens in fights sometimes. Like, this guy's so fucked, and he seems like not as fucked as he is. So I bet he didn't remember any of that the next day.
It is crazy to think about that. It's like interviews happen at all after the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't know.
Could you imagine trying to get interviewed after that? It'd be the worst.
We should move on to the co-main here. We had Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson.
Now I put $20 down on Megan Anderson on this one.
Ah, you idiot.
It's not an idiot move. That's a great move.
That's an idiot move.
No, it's not. This is the only bets I really like to make for UFC kind of thing. When there is like it was like Nunes was like a minus 1,000. So,
yeah,
for real,
for good reason. For what happened.
Exactly, but maybe something. Maybe here's the deal. If I lose $20, I don't give a fuck. What am I gonna do? Put $100 on Nunes and make $9? Like,
I will say, I put 10 pounds on Derek Lewis a few weeks ago to finish the fight, and he was like minus 600. But to me, it's different in the sense that like I could envision that happening. I could see a path. When I look at Megan Anderson, I saw no path. I saw no. Like, I listened to Bisbing's podcast earlier this week, and he was trying to think of something, and he's like, maybe because Nunes just had a child, she'll be like tired and distracted. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. So yeah, I don't think Anderson had a shot here, and I mean, she didn't. She got so fucked up,
just murked so fast. The way that like she got clipped, Megan got clipped, and then she stepped, and you see her like leg like fold in, like she's like all double jointed. It just looked like this fucking this long-legged bird just getting pummeled. It was
looked like a deer in the headlights. Like after she took a few shots, she froze up. Her eyes got wide, and it was over, dude. Nunes could have done whatever she wanted. She decided to do like the triangle arm choke.
Yeah, good for her kind of doing the honorable. I mean, I don't know if it's honorable or whatever, but just kind of choking her because she could have really hurt that girl. Like,
yeah, battered her, and I mean, it is what it is, man. I don't think you have enough contenders for him.
What is she gonna do? What in either division?
Yeah, no, it is like it's at the point where it's like either fight man or like handicap matches, like 2 versus 1. Like, I don't know, dude. Like,
hear me out. Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, Yeah, or a gauntlet match. Like she has 3 opponents in a night.
Oh, that'd be
Something.
sick.
Dude, it would be, man. If she had like Paige Van Zandt, Megan Anderson, and like Holly Holm lined up in one night.
That'd be great. The gauntlet.
But no, I don't know. I
What
think
do you do with her?
it was fun. It's nice. It's fun to see. In pro wrestling, they call this a squash match, where it's
Okay.
like
You know
what's gonna happen. Someone's getting fucked up.
but you still don't see it.
At least they gave Megan an entrance, because usually in squash matches, the guy will just be in the ring already when the star comes out. Like he's so not important, and I'm glad they, at least gave Megan her entrance. But this was brutal.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they. I don't know what the hell they're gonna do. There's really nothing to do with the man. She's the GOAT. She's the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Okay, main event time. Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya. And this is where it all fell apart for my parlay, let me tell you.
I can't. And even as the fight kind of progressed too, because in the first round, Izzy kind of looked. I was like, oh, Izzy's gonna be Izzy a little bit. You kind of had that like swagger a little bit. I was like, okay. So you probably watch round 1, and you're thinking, all right.
I didn't like Izzy's stoic entrance. I didn't
either. I was like, where's the dancing? Where's this?
Yeah, I didn't feel any of the that specialness, rarefied air feeling that he usually manages to create. I felt none of that, and I felt like it was very strange. Like he had the energy of a guy who should be smoking a cigarette. Like when he was out there, sort of stoic and.
Totally.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was very weird. Yeah, and it was such an Eastern European entrance, which was weird of him.
Yeah. Yeah, meanwhile, Yan enters to this fucking like death march music. Like,
love it.
Yeah, it's great. I'm a big Jan Blachowicz fan, man.
I gotta say, man, after watching like the Embeddeds and stuff this week and just watching some interviews with him, I'm a big fan. He's hilarious. Like he just seems like a big, jolly, nice Polish man who can beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, he's a dude, man. And like, yeah, I heard him on Bisbing's podcast recently. He's super personable. And I don't like when UFC does try book so far ahead, when you can tell who they want to win very clearly. It's just something that makes me root for the other guy automatically, because you want to be like, fuck you, Dana. Like, just book the best fights and
sure.
Like, get out of this. So it's seeing that Yan was meant to be this like transitional guy in the middle champ. And then that didn't come about. I do like that part. Obviously, I would have liked to win my big chunk of change. And I do love Israel. I would have liked to see just where that path goes. But if he had to get beat, I'm sort of more happy Yan was the one to beat him than John Jones, because I think, like, fuck John Jones. I just don't want him to have that other thing.
So what do they do now? Is it going to be Yan versus John Jones?
No, it's going to be Yan versus Glover Teixeira. And Izzy's going to go back to welter, or no, what's the other champ? Middleweight?
Middleweight. Oh, that's
right.
Right.
And
John's up in heavyweight. That's right.
Yeah, all these plans that were in motion are going to be put on hold. I think this is going to happen.
Well, that'll just give John more time to stay out of trouble.
I'm happy for Teixeira. I think Glover's like, he's in that age where like a year makes all the difference right now. So give him that shot earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
And that was our card. Again, a great night of fights. I should have split my parlay a bit, but
you were close. You were very close. I always enjoy seeing a parlay bet come through from you.
Yeah, dude. I felt like Adam Sandler at the end of Uncut Gems.
Great flick.
Just jumping up and down, like, come on.
Okay, should we make our picks for what we know, I guess, of the main card? There might still be one fight added to this, I think.
Yeah, real quick before we do that, I just wanted to bring up the main events of the other fight nights. So March 13th, we have Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Do you have any strong takes on this one way or the other?
Ooh. I'll take Edwards on that.
Yeah, I think I do too. I do believe in ring rust, and I do believe Bilal Muhammad is better than he's currently shown. Like, I think the sky's the limit for him in a sense, but I don't know if he's. It's a really tough one.
It is a tough one, but Leon Edwards is great though. He's so good.
You know what? I'll pick Bilal just to switch it up. I think maybe he makes the upset happen.
All right.
And then March 20th, we have Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland in the main event.
Oh man, I'll take Brunson.
Oh, really? I hit big on Brunson a few months ago when he fought
I'll switch it
Shabazian.
with you if you want.
No, I sort of think Kevin Holland's going to get the job done. The way he beat Jacare recently, I did not see coming. I didn't see him flatlining Jacare like that. And I think the guy's just been unstoppable lately.
Rock. Okay, those are the only two fight nights going on?
Yeah, March 15th, March 20th. There's a few. A bunch of the cards have good names on them, but I don't know like who their opponents are. Like I know Kiuvasa is fighting, Dan Ige is fighting next week. There's names I like. I just don't really know.
It's why I'm just kind of doing the streams just for the pay-per-views because it's there's so many, man. Like there's so many fights and the roster is like so big. Trying to keep up. You just start naming. I'm like, oh, where's Chuck Liddell?
Yeah.
Where's
Although Ben Rothwell is fighting next week, and he is of that era. So.
All right.
Yeah.
You talking about video games again? But that guy's. And
I think he's gonna
shitty laugh.
I think he's gonna get fucked up by Philip Lynn, personally.
Yeah, I could see that.
But yeah, okay. So UFC 260 is gonna be March 27th, and then we'll do maybe a show like this, like maybe the next day we can. Record another one of these.
Yeah, we'll do. That's what we'll do. So we're gonna do a kind of a monthly spot of this where we'll recap the last show and then we'll make our picks for the next.
Nice. Okay. So let's start at the bottom here. This was on the prelim on the site. I usually check it. You said it was on the main card. I can't see it not being on the main card.
Yeah,
so
that's what when I looked at my UFC. It was, but maybe the Canada one's different. I don't know. Yeah, it had O'Malley on that.
Yeah, so this is Thomas Almeida versus Sean O'Malley, and it's weird. Sean's last fight is a really tough one to guess. It's sort of like
that's when he fucked his shit up.
Yeah, it sort of seemed like a freak accident. I mean, obviously, who's the guy he was fighting? God damn it, Marlon Vera, Cheeto.
Yeah.
Obviously, he meant to kick him, like he meant to do that. I don't think anyone thought it was going to be this weird ankle injury, so it's tough to put a lot of stock into that loss as if I don't think it says a lot about O'Malley. And that being said, it's why I'm picking O'Malley to fucking run through Thomas Almeida.
I was like, have you ever bet against Sean O'Malley?
I like Sean O'Malley, dude, and he's definitely falling into that category of guys who need to talk less because the more he talks.
100%. We were talking about that last night of just like, dude, you just need to shut the fuck up and just fight for now.
Yeah, just get a couple more spectacular KOs. That Eddie Wineland KO was beautiful. Do that again.
Okay, I'll take Almeida in this.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I do think I am rooting for for O'Malley. I would like to see him come off of. It'd be nice to be like, okay, it's not just. It is some kind of fluke, weird kind of shit that happened.
And that is the vibe I get when he's hitting on all cylinders. He seems very special, and I do think there is something there. So we'll see. Right. We have Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque.
I have what?
Dude, we're laughing at Tyron Woodley right now. How could anyone pick Tyron Woodley? I would pick Chuck Liddell over Tyron Woodley right now.
Tyron Woodley's stock has just done everything that Dana White has wanted it to. The entire time he was champion. It was man. Yeah,
it's
there's
crazy
no
to think.
Chance.
It's crazy to think that Wonder Boy 2 fights went the way they did. Because I pick Wonder Boy now to just fuck that Tyron Woodley up.
I think
like
it was
today.
kind of a style cancel out sort of situation with those guys, but
yeah. Fair.
Also, I don't know. Wonder Boy seems like he was kind of one of those dudes too. That's like, he's really good, but like, is he that?
Yeah.
I can't. There's no way. There's nobody's picking Woodley.
All that being said, I'm picking Luce. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. We're both taking that. I haven't seen any. I haven't really looked. I mean, so early on to see any kind of betting odds or any of that kind of stuff. I haven't really checked, but I would love to see what what Woodley's coming
The odds
in,
are.
what Woodley's coming in on there. All right, moving on.
Yeah. The co-main event, we got Alexander the Great Volkanovski taking off against Brian Ortega, B City.
T City's last outing was it Max? No.
No, he beat up Korean Zombie in the interim. I think.
Oh, that's right.
I want to say 6 months ago.
I love T City, big believer.
I was a big believer until Holloway just thoroughly put him in his place. Like,
I feel like the level of Holloway's boxing, like other people's, is just not even close to that level. So I
agree.
feel like it was a bit of a kind of a special situation there. But Volkanovski looks great too, man. Like,
yeah, the thing to me, and I know MMA math you can't really base a ton off of it, but to me, like Holloway beat the brakes off of Ortega, and the fights he had with Volkanovski were so close. Personally, I think they should be one apiece. I think Volkanovski won the first one, whereas Max probably won the second. But I mean, either way, like whatever your opinions are of those two fights, I could take either way. But I do think those two guys are just in a tier above, or the Ortega or the Korean Zombies of the world, of the division right now.
for sure.
So with that being said, I'm picking Volkanovski to
All right,
fuck Ortega's world up.
I'm taking T City by
nice.
flying triangle. No.
I'm glad the only one we agree on is the most obvious one so far.
Yeah.
Sorry,
T-Wood.
And then in your main event, we have Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. This one feels huge. This feels to me even bigger than Blachowicz Adesanya did this weekend.
Yeah, because it's way scarier. It's way scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those men are just fucking terrifying. But I don't know. Oh man, this is a tough one. But I'm gonna go with Stipe on this.
Really, because I think that on paper that seems like the smart choice.
Mm-hmm.
But even saying that, I feel like Francis is gonna fucking do it, man.
I mean, it's not like he can't. He's very aware of how capable he is. Like, it's absolutely insane. I mean, I can't believe his uppercut didn't send Alistair Overeem out of the fucking UFC.
Yeah, fuck. And that's the thing. It's like, I think since then, Ngannou has just ran through Curtis Blades, ran through Cain Velasquez, ran through Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho Rozenstruik was like streaking to be one of the division's top contenders, and Ngannou treated him like a sack of shit and threw him to the side. I think Ngannou's only gotten better. He's only gotten more confident. He's streaking right now. And Stipe, I mean, he beat DC in a very close decision, maybe because of an eye poke, and he's only getting older, and he didn't look that much better than the second fight. I don't know. All the things to me seem trending to be an Ngannou win, except for the fact that Stipe's beaten this guy before, and we've seen exactly how he would do it. So it is very tough.
It's super tough. I feel like Stipe's boxing is sharper, and although Ngannou's definitely got better, I feel like Stipe's his boxing is just too sharp, and I think if he uses his footwork enough, he'll be able to hopefully stay out of the way, because it's not even like one or two. Like, you just take half of one of those punches, and it's like, I mean, he took a couple for sure, but in the first fight, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's also interesting to see what Ngannou's cardio looks like too, if this goes long. Yeah, I love it, but I mean, again, you got to think that's something he's working on. Like, he lost that fight because he gassed. Yeah, 100%.
You would hope he's just working on it.
All right, so you got Ngannou on that.
Yeah, and we do have to think, maybe listeners of the show could suggest something, but I do want to bet somehow with you. Money is tough because we live in different countries, but if one of us had to do something humiliating or hilarious.
Agreed, yeah, we can do something like that for sure. So yeah, I don't know, if anyone's got ideas, hit up in the comment section, and we'll do something stupid. I know I just opened that up to a bunch of our comedian friends, which is probably not the best idea, because we'll end up with something in our butts by the end of it.
Yes, someone will be creative with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty good way to end the first episode.
Yeah, this was fun, man. Way longer than we expected, but
That's okay.
what can you do?
We'll give a little edit down maybe and some stuff. Jordan, thank you so much for doing this, man. Again, we're going to be doing this once a month, so we'll sit down after UFC and we'll look forward to the next one. Jordan, thank you so much, my friend, and we'll see you next time, my friend.
Beautiful, dude. Talk to you in a month from now.